Welcome to Discover Indie Film. I'm Jeff Howard. I'm so delighted I've got Claire Chubbuck with me. Hey, Claire.
Hey.
So, I do kind of know you. I always do this disclaimer. We've had coffee. And I have to be honest with you, as a film festival runner, it's kind of rare that someone says, hey, let's grab some coffee. So I'm actually thanking you in public right now for treating me like a human.
And it was a great coffee, too.
It was a great coffee. Mm-hmm. So we have chatted before, but you're here. If I was doing a more traditional introduction, you directed the film Away Home. Mm-hmm. And in 2023, it was at the Sherman Oaks Film Festival. And I consider it just a fantastically made film. It's such a good film. Everything about it is great. And I'm proud to say that our Grand Jury Award jury, that our grand jury gave it Best Featurette Drama and Best Performance by a Cast for a Featurette, and I love that award. I love the cast awards more than like calling out an individual. And as the director, your cast winning their own award. And so anyway, congratulations. The film is so great.
Thank you. And
so in theory, you're here to talk about all these things. And I'm going to pretend I know less about your life story than I do because over coffee I learned some. But, this is new for me. I am going to mention that, Sherman Oaks Film Festival, this is Discover Indie Film is the name of the podcast, and the nonprofit that runs Sherman Oaks Film Festival and Film Invasion Los Angeles is the Discover Indie Film Foundation. And so if you go to discoverindiefilm.org, you might learn, it's my new goal for 2025. Is that the year?
That is the year, newly.
Oh my God. And it's been such a year for us Angelinos, right?
Yeah.
All right. So... So one of my missions this year is to embrace the nonprofit more and let people know that it exists and that they can become supporters of it, members, whatever. So there, I mentioned the nonprofit. And now I'm going to ask you to tell me and everyone. So you're this talented director. I know you have an acting background too. So how did you or what inspired? Do you want to just start from the beginning, how you got into this stuff, and we'll just do your whole life story right up through Away Home and what follows, because I know I'm going to get to watch another film from you quite soon.
Yes, that film that you're going to watch from me is called Me and My Penis. I think that everyone's going to love it. So it's quite a title. It's not the first time that title has been used, but it is a good title. So we also have used it for the short.
And I am a little biased. I admit I love the whole penis thing and jokes and I have sat at a Q&A at a film festival and said in front of an audience to a director, "Thank you for that penis." Because my entire life I've been shown boobs on screen and then there's never male frontal nudity. And so whenever someone's equal about that, I love it. I just love it.
Well, what I'm really proud of in actually both of the films, and in fact every film I've ever made, is the cast, which is why I was so excited to win that particular award with you guys. Because everyone that I work with comes out of the studio, the acting studio that I work at. So that's how I find my actors. I don't do the thing where we try to find high-profile people to elevate what we're doing. I'm using actors that I have seen for the last 10 years work their ass off at this acting studio, and they are really, really good. And it's not really that I couldn't. So the first time that anyone really heard of the Chubbuck technique and the acting studio that we are part of was when Halle Berry mentioned my mother, Ivana Chubbuck, at the Academy Awards. The work that they did on Monsters Ball exemplifies what our technique is about. And it's really about not allowing your character to be a victim and using your personal pain to find prosperity. And that's why that acting in Away Home is so good. Everyone is using truth for themselves to overcome and win with. Because a lot of actors like to go into this real, It's so, woe is my character. And then they use their personalization to go full woe is me. And it's not in the way that's fun, like a pity party, right? Because that's a different element of that. So with the Chubbuck technique, we really all support each other. It's hard to hate your fellow cast member if you know the power with which they are using their personalization. So thank you so much. Thank you to the jury for that award, because I think that they were seeing that truth, but not from a place of being pathetic, not from a place of being a victim.
Yeah, it sounds like that technique allows the filmmaker, director, screenwriter, whatever, the whole team to deal with more difficult subjects in a more authentic way.
Yeah.
Because nobody, in real life, we all are kind of the hero of our own story.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. But we can allow ourselves to fall into these victim behaviors, which end up in this cyclical fashion, right? Because then you just keep meeting these same struggles. And you're like, oh, I can't do it. That's how trauma works. If you fall down a flight of stairs, you're never going to not hold the stair, that thing next to it, that
handrail?
The handrail. Thank you, sir.
By the way, I had a hard time thinking of that.
Right. But that's how trauma works. So if that first time you can't overcome it, then you're always going to be a victim to feeling that that's going to happen again. The way that we approach that with this technique and in all the movies that I do is that you get a second chance to have that conversation. You get a second chance to talk to that person that you might not ever get to talk to again. And so it's serious for these people. They're not playing a role. This is them. This is them doing something that is important to them. And
right, they are being a person, a full-fledged person.
Yes, a full-fledged person that you can admire because of their empowerment. They're empowering themselves to overcome their circumstance. And so that's the exciting part of what we do. And that's been sort of my whole life, because my mother has been working with actors for my entire life out of the home. So when they were working on Monsters Ball, I was maybe 10. And so they would use me in their sessions to have Hallie practice her work on, because it's about her son that she had, whatever. You can go watch Monsters Ball. It's a great film. And I would be that kid, so I saw how impactful this was and how different it actually makes the acting choices, because you're not changing the script. Sometimes you have to make tiny adjustments to the script, but you are changing what is happening within that character, and that's what makes it so powerful. So it's just been seeing that my whole life. My dad was also a director. He directed episodes of Baywatch. He did a lot of television back when television was doing its thing, and so I just ended up as a combination of my mom and my dad.
Excellent. All right. So I guess I'll ask about the Chubbuck technique. So that was something your mom had fully developed for herself as a performer, and then turned to teaching. And then you were born into, because it's funny. You are an incredible, right? Yeah, I assume you consider yourself so fortunate to have been.
Yeah.
Because I've always observed that the kids of teachers, whether it's math teachers or astronomy or whatever, they just have such a wonderful perspective.
Right. Yeah. I think I am absolutely so blessed to be her daughter, and where this technique came from, it's obviously part of a lineage, right, as most acting techniques are. So you're looking at the Stanislavski, then we're in the Uta Hagen version of that, and then she's underneath where that category is. So you're still using personalizations, you're still using objectives, but the details are, instead of trying to go back to traumatic things from your past for your personalization, you're using the shit that's happening to you right now. And if you find that the shit that's happening to you right now, for example, like your relationship, is actually hearkening back to the issues that your parents have, you then look at that past, but you're not looking at the past for no reason. And that's the problem with a lot of other acting techniques, is you're drudging up these things that don't have a direct correlation to what's currently happening in your life right now. So you're not actually finding any answers. But So obviously this is very personal, but the work that we do is very personal. So I will start with that. So I've always been really jealous, right? Like a really jealous woman in a way that I am not proud of. But through working this way, I realized that it was the way that my dad was interacting with women in my home when I was really young that made me see this inequity, and my mom was not handling it necessarily in a way that she wasn't out loud calling it out, like, hey, why are all these women here? And I only recently realized that that's why I'm jealous. And it was through putting that into my work as a director and helping other actors understand what this technique is, I'm not jealous anymore. It is completely transformed. I'm telling you, I'm jealous. I said at my wedding vows, I made a joke that these were the last group of women that my husband would ever be able to interact with. And yes, thank you. And everyone was like, what the fuck? But that's not the person I am anymore because of the work that I do. So in those kinds of situations, you do have to go look back into your past, but it's because you're having a problem today.
Just that example answered a question I had or a reaction I had, which was, it sounds like this would be a really healthy thing for non-actors too.
Yeah.
To look inside themselves and see, how, especially the stuff from family and parents, I try not to say it too much, but I am well past middle age now. And something does happen to your mind when you're 2/3 of the way through this ride, and you start thinking about your parents and family and seeing things. You start seeing things, especially, we have a kid who's going off to college in the fall, you know what I mean? So you just start thinking about, wow, so 30-something years ago when I went out, you know what I mean? So you start having a more complete picture, and through that kind of training, you can get through all this decades earlier.
And it's through conversation. So my dad's now passed, and so I can't actually go talk to him. It was like, hey, that particular woman, why was she living in the back house? Well, now I get it. Now I know, right? But I didn't know before. And I will never be able to have that conversation with him. But now I can put that in work and have that conversation. And we end up at a place of love because I still love him so much. He was a man that was going through things in his own life, wanted to feel attractive, and he was a successful director of television. Okay, well, you know what happens in that kind of thing. We've got all the actresses flocking, doing the thing. And he fell for that, and that's okay. And now I look at his past, and I'm able to understand why he was like that. So I have no anger in my heart about this. I have no problem in my heart about this. But I used to be jealous, and it affected my present day relationship.
I totally understand it. I don't mean to be glib about it, but like I can imagine being a director on Baywatch.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting what celebrity, like one of the wonderful celebrity couples broke up or a guy cheated and somebody, I can't remember who it was now, but everyone was shitting on the guy because their marriage was so publicly wonderful. And I said to a bunch of friends one night, I'm like, none of us know what it's like to have really young, beautiful people come on to you all the time. Yeah. Oh, it was a musician. Oh, Dave Grohl.
Oh, man. Yep.
Yeah, when we found out about Dave Grohl's Love Child, and I was like, wait a minute. We can't judge Dave Grohl. Yeah. You don't know what it's like.
Yeah.
To go backstage and you haven't seen your wife for 7 weeks and you've had 3 beers and someone who looks like, I have no reference. Looks like they would have been on the cover of Maxim if they're ever. I don't know if Maxim's, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Like, let's not judge until you have said no to incredibly attractive. You know what I mean. Anyway, I totally understand.
And what's interesting about this too is working this way. It's very positive, right? It doesn't feel all the time positive because you got to go through some hard shit to have that light. You do not know darkness if you cannot find light if you do not understand your darkness, right? These are the two things that are important. But Ivana, my mother, started working with Pam on Baywatch because my dad was directing episodes of Baywatch. And so her role went from something where she was just the sexy girl to being funny like Marilyn Monroe. And so now, well, for a while, they had the Pam clause, where internationally they didn't want to buy the episodes of Baywatch unless Pam was in them. And so it's making these interesting choices and then working this way. And Pam still works with Ivana today. So they just did The Last Showgirl. And so in Pam's press, that's not the life that she leads. Everyone's looking at this performance and they're saying, well, that's basically just her. No, it's not. She made the opposite choice that her character made in the movie The Last Showgirl, because in The Last Showgirl, definitely go see it. It's really, really powerful. And it's indie, right? It's really good indie cinema. But Pamela Anderson made the choice to stay with her kids. Her character in The Last Showgirl makes a different decision than what Pamela did. They have two very different lives, but they went through, so Ivana and Pamela went over and over. They worked this script to death to find every beat, every moment, and to find that healing and catharsis through it.
Amazing. And I have to say, as an outsider, Pamela Anderson really does seem to have hit her moment. Mm-hmm. And now we're all aware how bright she is and how insightful. And she was treated so horribly when she was hugely famous. And everyone judged her so superficially. And I have a gigantic soft spot for the people who present themselves as they are now in the social media age and don't put on makeup and say, this is what I look like when I wake up. Like, Pamela Anderson is a fucking hero at this point to me.
I feel the exact same way.
And I wouldn't be surprised if the insightfulness that she got from working with your mother is why she's willing to be herself. Yeah. There was a documentary, right? Didn't she do a documentary on a streaming thing? Is that how I learned how amazing she is?
Possibly.
I think so. But I was just like completely blown away. And she's so self-aware and so confident as a person now. I'm like, wow, everyone.
And she's been hurt so many times.
Oh,
and it's that process without getting into the details, because obviously I don't know everything that my mother knows.
The planet treated her like shit.
Yes. She was our Marilyn Monroe. She survived. She survived.
I got in trouble on Facebook like a decade or two ago when people were like, why am I sharing that? I'm sharing this. I'm virtue signaling for you, Claire.
Okay.
Because people would like put up pictures of Marilyn Monroe, and I would like write I just put the comment, when I look at her, I just see all the sexual abuse she endured. Yeah. Because she came to Hollywood and every executive just had to have it. I said it grosser on Facebook, but I'm like, I see evil that was done to her because we know what she endured.
Yeah,
absolutely. And people treat her like a fuck up drug addict, and it's like bullshit. She was self-medicating because the entire industry devastated this woman for the benefit of all but herself, you know?
Yes. It's the solution. With what we are looking at when we are looking at her is a solution-oriented person, and the drugs were part of the ability to process and understand and to still like do her job, right? I mean, how would you do your job if you weren't able to come in? You had to face all these people. People are constantly treating you like that. I'm so glad that we are out of that era, but we are now building a new era.
It's proof of progress, really, when you look at what happened to Marilyn, and then you look at what happened to Farrah Fawcett, and then you look at what happened to Pamela Anderson, and she's had a better end point. I wish that her 20s and 30s and 40s had been better. I think she's nearly exactly my age. But
very good. But she worked it, right? Her life exemplifies what we are trying to do with this acting technique, because you find the joy, you find the win. Like, if she hadn't gone through all of those things, her showing up not wearing makeup would be a lot less powerful.
Oh my God, you're right.
Right? She had to go through
this. I got to shift the conversation back to you in a second. Okay. But I just thought to myself, can you imagine if Marilyn tried to go in public without being completely dolled up? The studios would have had armed guards preventing her.
Well, didn't she try when she went to New York and she was trying to be a theater person? Like, I wonder how much makeup she was really wearing then. And I think that was part of that rebellion that she was experiencing. But acting back then was really awful. It was really awful how you were treated. Judy Garland, like, hello.
Oh my God.
Talk about all of these stars from the past, especially women. They all were so fucked over and treated horribly. And acting kind of asks you to torture yourself for the benefit of the audience. It asks you to humiliate yourself. It asks you to torture yourself. It asks you to do a whole lot of things, sexual, painful, otherwise, all of it. And I think that's what's so important to Ivana and why this technique is so important to us. It's asking you to not be a victim to anything. It's saying, well, you made this choice. Like, for example, if you look at the breakdown of Training Day, right? And you look at the lead character. He gets shot at, spoiler alert, oh no, but I think it's been so long, right? But instead of looking at that as like, oh, he fucked up, oh, he got shot, oh, da-da-da, we look at, no, he got into a world of hurt that he actually did need to train someone, and he had to put him through tests of fire to make sure that this guy was going to be a better cop than he was, because he felt like he fucked up. And so then when he knew that this guy wasn't going to be like him, he could go. Like that, you feel the beauty in that perspective. Everything stays the same in this movie with this breakdown. You have to change a single line, but how you feel about what your character is doing is what changes. And that's why in A Way Home, even though all the characters are going through something awful, at the end, that they come together in love.
Absolutely. All right, so I'm going to jump back and I'm going to try to put the spotlight back on you.
Oh, sorry.
Well, no. So now I know that at age 10, you were working with Halle Berry at home.
Yeah.
So was that like when you first got involved, or like that's the first that's when you first remember? And so what's it like going to sleep at night after that? Are you picturing yourself? Are you thinking maybe I should act? Maybe I should do that? Because kids dream.
Yeah. Kids dream. I did think, oh, maybe I could act. And then I did a couple of movies with my dad. I played some kids in movies with him. And then I auditioned for The Parent Trap. And I did not understand the auditioning process. So I got a single callback. And then I didn't book it, obviously. And I was so devastated that I no longer wanted to do it anymore. And I personally have a hard time with rejection, and I understand more about why now, but it felt so personally devastating that I no longer wanted to act.
Well, the auditioning process, it's pretty cruel.
It's
cruel, until you
worse than ever.
It's worse than ever,
Yeah.
and it's something that I don't know how you get around it. But there are obviously ways to do it healthier. And every actor I've ever spoken to, especially on this podcast, but even at film festivals and stuff, they learn so much when they end up producing or directing something small. And then they understand, they might have loved me in that room at that moment. It was just, in the end, the determination is sometimes almost not random, but they've got to pick someone. And not picking you is not a rejection.
Yeah.
It's just someone else it's not even about checking boxes, but every actor I've talked to who has been on the other side of the casting table has completely it's helped so much.
That's what I suggest for, like, you need to produce your own shit. Produce your own stuff. Even if it's just that one time to show people, to understand, to have a little bit of footage, to understand what you want to be working on, because you do have to take a bigger role. And I think that's part of the change in the indie industry right now is you don't need just an actor. There's too many actors, but if you're an actor producer, okay, and you're going to help me make this film, wonderful. Are you an actor you're a location person and you actually are also work in real estate. So you have 5 locations that you can bring to production. Okay, let's use you. People have to expand and diversify what we're doing. The budgets are getting too small. The middle is hollowing out of what we are doing here. So unless you are in Barbie with the $100 million budget, and I assure you, even then, Margot Robbie, producer. Not every single character had that extra role, but it's not just for the indie films anymore. You have to do more.
And it's healthier for you as a person.
Yeah, gives you agency.
Yeah, agency is the right word. Yeah, I couldn't put the word to it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we already got big picture again.
Yeah,
so,
sorry.
So
yes,
no. But you explained. So
yeah.
So Parent Trap is where you learn. Well, you said ruined it, but really, it's where you learn this wasn't for you.
Yeah.
Because
I didn't actually like it.
I do wonder that's another thing I always, when people are cruel about actors being, whether it's drugs and alcohol or this or that, or just coping mechanisms, it's because you don't know how cruel a life it can be.
Yeah.
And until you're at the point that you're getting offers,
even
the
then.
rejection, I do have a past in the industry, and I was always on the other side. And I can remember being super excited to cast, do I name drop? It was not a big deal, but Ted McGinley, who was, amusingly the guy who showed up on Happy Days to replace Fonzie and showed up on Married with Children to replace the neighbor. Like I just thought he was the coolest guy. And we cast him in an indie feature in like the 90s. And I was directing, and he said to me, "Man, in that audition, I thought you hated me." And I said, I was sitting there going, I can't believe Ted McGinley's auditioning for this film. Like I was like, but he sensed I didn't like him at all. That's
his trauma. That's the staircase issue again. Because of that one time that someone didn't like him, now he goes into every single room and goes, I assume you hate me. I'm going to operate from assuming you hate me. And what a life. What an awful life to live.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was a happy person, but staying a happy person when that is your career, like rejection is your career.
Yeah.
That shit's fucked up. And by the way, everyone else who auditioned didn't get it because Ted did, and they were great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like
in the end, it's a crazy life.
It took me off of it. I never got back to wanting to act personally. How I found my way back to it was
What, did you jump into school and stuff and do normal kid stuff?
It was normal kid stuff, then economics at Scripps College, then went to then what happened was I had my own drug problem, and so I had to leave that school, go to rehab, and I thought I was going to be like a registered recovery worker for the rest of my life, but that wasn't okay with my parents. Like a lot of people, it's you have to finish college. You can't just do a normal job. And so I went to NYU for film, with Cambar School within Tisch, did really well there. So I then ended up working at AMC Networks for a bit when they were making Breaking Bad and Mad Men. Then I came out here back to be back with my parents. But
NYU is the directing program?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But then you ended at AMC more in
well, I was out there at
corporate.
AMC. Yeah, I was in corporate because I didn't really want to be on set at that point. I just wanted to be at the studio level. But that
must have been really insightful to be on that side of things.
It was.
Because the directors have the same issue as everybody else, right? Like everyone thinks the directors are the big shot. They're running things. No, they're desperate for gigs too.
Exactly.
And they get rejected all the time.
Yes, exactly. Absolutely. And seeing how many pieces had to come together to make this, where AMC Networks, when they were making Mad Men, they didn't have the international rights to it because it was Fox that had the international rights to it. So because that was their first major thing that they were doing. And so it was this incredible co-pro that every territory had a completely different outlet for it. And I was like, okay, so that taught me a lot. Then I went out to work at Participant back in LA. And
these are great companies, by the way.
Yeah, they were great companies.
Because I was tempted to add in that AMC was fucking great for a good run. It was like the HBO of basic cable in a way, like where the quality, they are the reason that there was a renaissance in television.
Yes.
Because all those shows inspired everyone else to raise the bar.
Breaking Bad, Walking Dead, all of these were coming out while I was working there. I would wear my AMC merch like you would not believe. I was like, I work here. I love it here. This is my family. But it was out in New York, and I really needed to come home for a variety of reasons.
I just have to drop one title, which is, I always thought the show Preacher was amazing on AMC. Okay. I was a Preacher guy.
You're a Preacher guy. I've never
met a Preacher person.
Truly, no. This would be
that show
first.
Was so fucked up and insane.
Yeah,
I thought it was performance art on TV in a way.
Yeah, and indeed it was, and that was their motto. Was like, how do we bring things that are normally classic?
*Halt
movies?
and Catch Fire*. I could almost all my favorite shows of that era were AMC.
Yep.
All right. Now participant. Sorry.
Yes.
I just had to praise your alma mater.
Yeah. And I really should never have left AMC. It was the best place. Everything kind of went downhill after I went to Participant, because it was when they were trying to launch Pivot, the television network. It was short-lived, ill-advised, all of the things, but a fun company to work for.
I knew them as they did produce films, right?
Yeah.
And then they tried a TV for it, and they were they like were they set up on a studio, or were they truly independent? Well, I actually don't really know the Participant. Truly
independent, and that was part of the. A lot of people from AMC came over to Participant to try to launch Pivot. Very short lived, but then what happened for me is I had a fiance at the time. He ended up. We were both supposed to be sober. He ended up dying of a drug overdose, and that became so traumatic to me that I could not leave my car, because I saw him when I was in my car. So then I associated this with every time I go to leave my car, something really bad is going to happen. And I knew that it wasn't, but my body could not. It's like the body keeps score, right? Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, he talks about like these things are in our cells after they happen to us. And we live with the experience of these things. And so I couldn't go to a place where I had to show up at 9 and leave at 5. I just couldn't do it. So that's when I started back into the world of what I was doing, or what my mother was doing, because the whole point is to overcome and win with your trauma. So I didn't have any significant trauma before that I was aware of. That was just sort of normal, like lived experience trauma. But now I had something that was actually debilitating. And it was through teaching this technique. It was through even just working in classes. It was through making films that now I'm in a new relationship. It's not new to me anymore, but we're married. We're happy. I did have that issue I spoke of earlier. It's all of the jealousy. But now even that's gone, you know? So yeah, exactly, it's incredible.
You know he's not dad.
I know he's not dad. You know, and it's hard to know that.
It is hard, and you mentioned and you had a really intense experience with grief.
Yeah,
and grief is something not everyone understands.
Yeah,
but grief is one of the most powerful things human beings experience, because. As soon as you lose someone who's not a grandparent, like there's a difference.
It's a huge difference.
As soon as someone your age passes, it's a whole different experience. So
it's like
I feel for you for that, because I've been through it, and it's completely changes the ball game.
It completely changed the ball game 1,000% for me. 1,000% for me. So. Whatever that life was before, that I was going to be working at the studios, doing that, I was physically incapable of doing that. And so I had to find the thing that made sense for me. And now that this process has healed me so much in more ways, that if I hadn't had that happen, that I would still be repeating these cycles. Like, I am so grateful for this to have happened to me, so that I could find what is going on with my life now.
Talk about a beautiful sort of arc, too, that you end up back at the actor's studio.
Isn't that crazy?
Where you started at age 10
yes.
with that's pretty beautiful.
It's beautiful. an example again of like what my mom was trying to build was so perfect for me and I'm an only child, right? So she had created this place for a lot of actors to land upon. And it's why people are so connected to her. And that these relationships, it's why, like, Halle Berry's had other acting coaches in her life. They did not get mentioned at the Academy Awards, okay? Part of that is because of the work that Ivana and her specifically did, but the other part of it is how powerful it is to share. Because that's an issue. Dr. Brene Brown talks about the shame resilience theory, where people like to hide their shame, and literally the only thing that gets rid of shame is to express yourself to the right people. She talks about shining a light on the shame gremlins, and it's what sanitizes people's feelings of shame. But you can't walk around like, hey, person I don't know, here's my shame story. Because then they're going to be like, wow, you're floodlighting me. I don't know who you are or why you're here. But if you tell the right person, like what Ivana does, what I do, what the teachers at our studio do, what we act as the right person. And you're not going to get any of that like, oh no, from us, because it's part of your life. You've been living with this your entire life. I'm just hearing about it now, but it's not new. It's not new for you. But the new experience that they need to have is someone not treating them like they're dirty, that they're not treating them like they're a mess. They're not treating them like they fucked up, because most victims of any sort of trauma think they are the problem.
Amazing. All right, so now I'm gonna redirect to the word directing, because so we know after participant and that you went back to the studio, and what is the name of the studio?
It's Ivana Chubbuck Studio.
Ivana, I figured we should say it.
Yeah, Chubbuck Studio. Mm-hmm.
And then at what point did you decide? Okay, I want to direct. I want to create film, because it's actually going back to like your university experience.
Yeah, my university experience. I used to go see my dad on set all the time when he was directing. So basically, people just started asking me because I was good at working with actors in class. And so they were like, wow, I saw what you just did with that performance. I would like for you to direct this piece. And so I kept getting asked. I kept being like, no, da-da-da.
And was that directing like on the stage?
It's pretty much like directing the stage. Because in class, they do this. It's normal scene study. They put up their scene. I have notes. They do it again. And the notes are either transformational or they're not. And most of the time in my class, from the beginning of when I was teaching all through today, it's pretty transformational, and people are pretty happy with how it feels to overcome and win with their pain, right? So they're like, whoa, this is incredible. I have a story I want you to direct. And I was saying, no, 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 no. And then this one girl wanted to tell her story about her kidnapping and rape when she was younger. She hadn't told anyone before. This was how she was going to tell her family. Her family had no idea what happened. It was in the news. So all they knew is she was gone for 3 days, she's back, and she was a different person. This is the first thing I directed. I was like, oh, yeah, because she needed this. And she became an entirely different person after making the film. And we realized that the process that we use in Chubbuck Studio for the acting portion, if we bring that to the writing, if we obviously keep it in the acting, then put it into post, put it into the release, that it's actually more transformational than just doing the acting alone. And that's how Cathartic Realism was born. So it's just the extension of my mother's acting technique to encompass all parts of the production. Amazing.
Amazing. We had a feature film at Sherman Oaks Film Festival last December, 2 months ago, called You're Not There, that was about a woman who was kidnapped as a child and how it resurfaces in graduate school.
Yeah.
And she cannot have a relationship at that moment.
Yep. That's exactly. And so she wanted to have that relationship. She wanted to have an important romantic relationship. But when that's how you lose your virginity because someone stole you and raped you, like, how are you going to see sex like everybody else? Sex is dangerous. Sex is scary. Like, your womanhood, what you look like is frightening. And this helped her overcome and find power in what happened to her.
What an amazing first film to have the privilege to direct.
And she's like my best friend. She's my person I love other than my husband and mother, the absolute most in the world. She's first person I called when my dad died. Like, this is what happens when you make important content with people. And that's every person I have made a cathartic realism film with since then. Are, even if I don't talk to them every day, they are deep friends of mine. Like, we are family now because we went through something hard together and came out on the other side as winners together.
I think I've got to write cathartic realism on my phone right now, so I remember the term. No,
yes.
because I've obviously 2 film festivals I run, so I'm on both juries. So I always just have this great deep love for the films that deal with grief or something else just emotionally significant. And the reason is because the cathartic realism. If it's genuine and it's about someone's pain, I just love it. One of the jokes I have a fellow jury member goes, well, if Jeff cries, it's in the festival. That's
yes,
what she likes to say.
Yes.
And I'm like, no, it's if the film is great. She's like, yeah, but the film can't make you cry if it's not great.
It's true.
Yeah,
it's
true.
very true.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can make a film about any of these subjects and make it poorly, and it won't communicate.
Exactly. And even if that's the situation, as long as the main actor, because what's interesting about cathartic realism is the person whose story it is also in it. And so they're getting a second chance at discovering what they could have done differently, how they could have, because that ruminates in the survivor's mind for things that are trauma. They're like, well, maybe they wouldn't have raped me if I was like this, And so guess what? This time in that movie, she goes, okay, now I'm going to do that. And it still happens, right? And so then you get to realize you're not the problem. You get to see that your strength is there. And then what we do that is, so the end of that particular movie, we didn't just make it her true ending. We made it the ending she wanted to have. So she got to talk to him. She slaps him around. She does things that she was too afraid to do in real life to have that experience. So in our films, we decide, what is the end going to be? Is the end your actual ending? Are you happy with the way it ended? Because some people, if they had a time machine, they wouldn't go back and change a thing. Some people would. So depending on what kind of person you are, that's how we decide what your ending needs to be for the film.
How many films have there been?
Only like 4 so far. We're still in the experimentation of this,
I don't want to be disagreeable, but don't you dare say only 4. Making 4 films is amazing. That's a huge accomplishment.
Well, it's 4 in this genre, right? So we've made a lot more, but I've also departed to, like, Away Home is not a cathartic realism film, but we use the Chubbuck technique in the acting. But so I like to explore with different things, but when someone comes to me with their true story, like Me and My Penis is his true story about Viagra addiction and erectile dysfunction. So imagine as a man being like, okay, so this is my story and I'm going to tell it to people, and then I star in it with my face. And it was really difficult for him for a long time to really accept that this is what we were doing. But now that we've done it, he loves it. His stand-up is about this stuff. We're making a feature about this now because he sees that what happened is people were like, wow, me too. Or, wow, that makes sense. Wow, wow, wow. And when you start to hear people and support, because that's back to Dr. Brene Brown, if you tell the right people, they're going to support you. And then you realize you really didn't have anything to be shameful about to begin with.
Yes, people are better than we know.
They really are.
A lot of the time.
Yeah.
And I forget the quote. And the people who do judge us sort of unfairly, you go, oh, well, that's about you, not me.
Yeah.
Right? I think it's what my wife says. She says, your opinion of me has got nothing to do with me.
Yeah. Everyone lives in their own separate truths, which I see all the time. And that's part of what I mean. Another part, I guess there's a ton of parts. I'm hearing myself say part. But anyway, so when people come to my class and they're like, well, my relationship with my mom is perfect. I'm like, that may be, but there's a part of her that through memories that have been uncomfortable, like maybe she couldn't give you those chicken nuggets you wanted when you were 4 at that time and you really needed them because you had a hard day. That sticks in your head as a memory. And that means there's a part of her that lives within you that makes her unfair. I'm not telling you that she is actually an unfair person because a mother saying, no, I cannot give you junk food just because you're having a bad day is a good mother, in fact. But that kid at the time was not feeling seen, appreciated, heard, or understood. And so that's a memory. So when we're dealing with these things, we're dealing with the actual memories, not the actual people. So we have to remember when we're using substitution or inner objects or the different tools we use in this acting technique and the Chubbuck technique, that it's not about shitting on the people you know. It's about healing and standing up for yourself and through your memories. So you're like, okay, that wasn't fair. I'm going to say something about it. And then you don't bring that into the nuance of your relationship anymore.
Incredible, incredible. And you have this incredibly wonderful situation where you can work in the studio and do this, and then when a project is right, you direct. But It's not like you have to, it's not like when you complete a film, you're like, I better direct something again really fast or I'm going to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a pretty wonderful situation.
It is a very wonderful situation. And I find people that I want to work with all the time because actors have really good ideas, you know?
And so actually you have the problem, maybe you have the same problem I do, which is you wish you could clone yourself so that you could do like many things at once because there's too many wonderful things that need to be done and not enough people doing them.
And not enough time, not enough days in the week. So I've planned my schedule out very far. So I'm like planning into April who I'm having coffees with in April because there's projects to move forward. There's people to heal. There's stories to share, like Fleabag. I know that you enjoyed Fleabag. That's her story. That is cathartic realism to me. Baby Reindeer, that's cathartic realism. Those are featuring the people who lived that and their perspective on it. And it's important to understand the framing and the perspective around it because that's what helps us understand that person, their plight, their journey, but also their personality, which is what makes us love them.
Absolutely. Yeah. And sometimes it's drama, sometimes it's comedy. Like you said, it can, my mind is ripped open now with seeing everywhere I've seen it.
It's everywhere.
In our household, we just re-binged Key and Peele, one of our favorite shows. And it's always funny, but so much of it is the truth of growing up not white in America.
Yeah.
And being part of two worlds. And it is actually it's always about trauma.
Yeah.
But it's always a funny view of trauma.
It's palatable that way. That's why with me and my short, me and my penis, not my actual physical penis, as I am a woman, and you can't see me, but you know. But we tried to explore comedy with that. So it was really tough for him to go through this because he felt so unlovable or whatever, all the things that you'll see in the film, that's how he feels about this. But when sharing it through comedy, it's sometimes easier for someone to take in and be like, okay, because with the gender divide, sex has become very tough to talk about. Because like I do have that movie about rape. That is a female perspective about how scary sex can be. But sex is also very scary for men too. There is this, especially with porn and all of the things that have been part of this next generation, that sex is frightening for young men, and we do not let them have that.
And, well, as an American male, I can obviously, we always deal with humor to deal with our fear because we're not allowed to be honest about our feelings. So we've got to joke about what we've gone through. Yeah. And it's may not be the healthiest thing, but it's better than not confronting it, I suppose.
I agree.
Yeah, I am not surprised at all that Me and My Penis was inspired by someone who also does stand up. Because I believe Mark Maron, who I kind of probably inspired me to start this 7 years ago, this podcast, always says he went into stand up to control why people laugh. He felt like everyone was laughing at him, but I at least wanted to. If you're going to laugh at my flaws, at least I'll guide you to laugh at the problems I want you to laugh at.
Yeah. I love that. And with stand-up, too, it's a lot about, like, who are you and what is your story so we can laugh at you. But it's back to the control of that.
It's trite, but, yeah, it is actually about trauma. Stand-up is often about, if it connects with you, it probably is, yeah.
Yep.
It's It's a good coping mechanism.
It's a great coping mechanism.
As long as you're self-aware enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know the sad comic is a...
It's a trope for a reason.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Amazing. So you seems like you're a very busy person and you're making films and working at the acting studio. Is there how big a slate of projects do you have in mind? Like, do you?
The current slate of things that I'm actively working on as a director is there are 4 projects now that are features. There are 2 that are shorts, and that's trying to expand Cathartic Realism. Because what I do also is I'm an acting coach on set as well. So when it's not Cathartic Realism, I try to just support a director's vision. Because every other department has a head of department so that the director can really bring it all together. The only department that does not have that is actors, and they should. They should. I think that they should. And I have been, there's a couple different directors have started to use me for that on set so I can help them use that creative bone, and we talk it through, and they have second eyes on it. So they're not the only ones that are looking at that. It's important. And I really hope that we change how sets are run, because I know the directors are supposed to be the person only talking to the actors, but you need a second set of eyes on anything.
Well, and at the indie level,
Yeah.
and obviously I'm biased in favor of indie. At the indie level, the director hopefully would have the time to connect with the actor and make sure that they're. You'll love this. I went to a screening of Traffic before it came out, and Steven Soderbergh did the Q&A afterwards, and he said he felt his job was to create a velvet-lined chute that the actor could just get on and slide down comfortably
beautiful.
and get to where they needed to. And most directors probably aren't giving a fuck about what the actor needs. So at the indie level, hopefully directors and actors are making that connection that's needed. But let's be honest, on a big film, the director's being pulled in a million directions every minute. So having someone like yourself to help in that department and make sure the actors are being supported just like everyone else needs it. Yeah.
Being supported, and I don't take away from that experience that the director is having with the actors. I'm there, I just watch the same scene. I'm like, okay, I see that connection to that book, that prop right there is hollow. So go tell them, do. And then the director's like, they either agree with the note or they don't agree with the note. It's okay either way. I have a bunch of notes. I'm always got a bunch of notes. It's what I do for a living. And then they can be like, all right, this is what's important to me. I'm going to go deliver that to the actor, and then we'll see what happens as a result. Or they're too busy. Claire, you go deliver that to the actor, because I've already been part of the mix in the rehearsal. So I know what the director wants at that point. So I'm just there to support. And we've been doing that for a long time. You know, having acting coaches on set is not a new thing, but I am trying to transform the role that they have on that set.
Yeah, you're making me think like the in a better world, the terminology or the name of that, like, because the AD, the assistant director, is just, it's a labor intensive, detail oriented job. Mm-hmm. This is almost like the performance assistant performance, you know what I mean? Like it's a performance, like
it's exactly
like
that.
This role, if this role had a label or a title that resonated well enough, then maybe it could become more common. Because I feel like the world, we're silly. We need to name things to populate them.
No, absolutely. And the name is definitely not going to be director of acting, like director of photography, because that's super scary for a director to hear. But I thank you. I think you just changed my life with giving me the what was it, performance? Assistant performance director? Yes.
Yeah, because the director needs assistance.
Yes.
With all the technical shit, and they need assistance with everyone. Yeah. Like you said, department heads.
And just someone to look over who has also been watching the monitor and be like, did you believe that? You know, because how can you physically look at so many things at one time? Or then if the set starts to get bigger, I understand what the dynamics are supposed to be. So they're working with the two main people, and then there's a bunch of other people that need to be talked to. And the first AD is too busy being like, do this, do this, do this. It's not with the same compassion and love that you need to treat actors with. Because if they feel shouted at, they're not doing what you want.
And all this must enable you to be the director you want to be.
Yeah.
And I almost said to be a better director, but instead I said, no, the director you want to be, right?
Better director, I think, is right. I'm trying to
better
level up my
it makes
game
you better.
every
You're
single
getting
time.
better all the time because this is all, you're working all the right muscles.
Yeah.
The right muscles inside your mind.
Yeah.
So cool. All right. Well, is there anything I missed? Should we
Thank you for the long meandering conversation.
No, and we're under an hour, which is always groovy for
Okay.
two people who can ramble.
Yeah.
Although you are working on it. I don't work on it. Maybe I should. I work on it in person, but on the podcast, it's my chance to just
Let her rip.
let it go. And I'm gonna undermine us by saying, and we didn't bring up politics with 2 thumbs up. Because that's what we did before the mics turned on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
us?
I'm taking it back. I'm taking back the joke. See, I just joked about my trauma.
See, isn't it more fun that way?
It is. You have to.
Yeah. But then you get to the space where you're like, okay, this actually means something to me. Where did it come from? How did it affect me? And what is this playing the role in my life? Because no one is where they want to be, right? That's just how human motivation works. But if you continue to beat yourself up because you are not where you want to be, you are still not going to get there. You're just going to completely live in this hamster wheel of a traumatic cycle that you're not even aware you're on. Huge changes can happen to people in the time of like 6 months, 2 months, major life transformations, because it's about these unspoken things that you are telling people when you don't even know you're telling people these things. And it's what you think about yourself and how you live in this world that is saying that.
If we had unlimited time, I'd tell you about the novel I'm 75% through.
Ooh.
About that has a Zen temples involved in the Book of Form and Emptiness. If anyone wants to read an amazing book, but yeah. Anyway, well, are there websites or social media handles people should follow for you? And I'll type them down.
Okay.
Because we'll make them clickable in the show notes.
So if you are interested in hearing more about the Chubbuck technique, you're going to want to go to IvanaChubbuck.com. That's IvanaChubbuck.com. She does these incredible, powerful workshops all over the world. The next one I'm also going to is Antwerp. There's a lot there on that website. If you're interested in the process of cathartic realism and what each step does and the movies that we've made for that, you're going to want to go to catharticrealism.com, and that is... I always spell these words wrong.
I'll get them right, and they'll be clickable show notes.
Fabulous. Okay, so catharticrealism.com and IvanaChubbuck.com.
And social media, or not so much?
I mean, yeah, we're more of a consumer of socials than we are a content creator.
Enough.
But if you want to follow me, I truly respond to everything and everyone. So if you want to hit me up, it's Claire, CLAIRE _Chubbuck, CHUBBUCK. And then you can also follow Ivana for acting tips and things. And I think she's under Ivana Chubbuck Studio.
Excellent. And I don't know. It's when I feel most like a real podcaster when I say clickable show notes. But Karina, the producer of this podcast, will do a wonderful job of making clickable show notes.
Thank you, Karina.
And I will finish up. And, okay, so thank you for listening to the Discover Indie Film Podcast. If you want to learn about the podcast and the TV series that was born out of it and or other shit, go to discoverindiefilm.com. If you want to learn about the nonprofit, that's discoverindiefilm.org. On social media, it's always at DIFWins. I guess I can say that I added Blue Sky 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
And last week deleted the Twitter account. So when I say social media, I mean everything but Twitter, X. What can I say? I felt like it had to be done.
Yes.
Korean and I had a little chat, and by the way, I virtue signaled by saying I am reading a novel. I quit Facebook, Instagram 3 weeks ago, and then 4 days later, and started Blue Sky just for me personally. And then 4 days later, I was in bed and I said, my brain said to me, read. All of a sudden I create, like, sometimes you're in bed and you want cookies.
Yeah.
I was in bed and I was like, I want a book. I want to pick up a book again.
Wow.
So it was literally getting away from the addictive algorithms, I think. And by the way, I loved the guinea pig videos and bunny rabbit videos and husky videos.
Oh,
like I loved, oh my God, I love all that stuff. Yeah. But as much as I enjoyed it was very embarrassing to be a not embarrassing, but funny to me to be a 56-year-old person just scrolling through animal videos all in bed, because we're all two-screen humans a lot, which is a bummer. And so I stopped doing it, and then I started reading again. So I do recommend people maybe a little less social media is good for the brain. I don't know.
I think so. You're probably right.
And I am a bit of an evangelist now for Blue Sky because there's no algorithm promoting shit. It's actually back to what it used to be, which is I only see stuff from people I know.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So it's not, I'm not getting random stuff.
I'm just adding another one because
I know.
There's too many good snacks on Instagram that I would be unaware of.
So good.
Yeah.
It's up to you. You do it when you feel like. But if you ever reach that point where for now I'm really enjoying Blue Sky, and I'm shit. Will I say? So anyway, it's at DIF Wins at Blue Sky or whatever. And I'm Hefe111 everywhere, but I don't look at anything but Blue Sky anymore. People still send me. I just hop in Instagram now and then to see like what my friend in Canada sends as a private message. I cannot convince this motherfucker to just send me a text. Does
he not know what we're trying to do here?
Does he not get how good I feel?
Yeah.
But I don't look at the feed. So anyway, that's my little. I'll hop off of that soapbox and mention that, yes, Away Home won those awards at the Sherman Oaks Film Festival. We hold that one every December. This year's the 10th anniversary edition of the Sherman Oaks Film Festival. You can learn more at ShermanOaksFF.com, and it's at Sherman Oaks FF on social media. And it's sister festival every June. This June will be the 10th anniversary, and there's going to be some cool shit involved. That's Film Invasion Los Angeles. You can learn more at filminvasionla.com, and it's at Film Invasion LA on social media. And if you really love indie film and you want to support it, maybe check out a website called indiechannel.tv. And that's it. Claire, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you, everyone, for listening. And by the way, the podcast after this one will be Claire answering the 4 questions. If you're a Discover Indie Film person, or maybe you probably aren't because you're just a fan of Claire's, and then you're listening to this, and I'll say, so you'll get to hear Claire name favorite films and maybe underrated, overrated, and something to seek out. So it's just a fun way to chat about movies. All right.
All right.
Adios.
Bye.